Cool. Thanks for coming, first of all. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you made it. I'm glad we were able to come get you.
Absolutely.
Well, this is Burn the Ship. Our goal of
Burn the
Burn the
Ship.
Ship is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business, right? So we're talking to the professional here. The audience here are people interested in being a business owner, trying to find their way into being an entrepreneur. People that are kicking the can down the road constantly 6 months away from starting their business, trying to figure out exactly what they need to do to become an entrepreneur. And our job is to help entrepreneurs tell that story of exactly what it feels like and things to watch out for and things to be excited about as you're starting a business. So again, I appreciate you coming. Anybody that separates a little time to share their experience with the audience is very important to us. So I appreciate that very much. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and tell us a little bit about business.
Well, first of all, Bailey, I just want to say thank you for having me because I've really enjoyed my time here, and I've been here for about 10 minutes, and you guys have given me a tour of the place and made me feel super welcome. You offered me coffee. I already have my Starbucks iced coffee, which is, few people see me on a daily basis without my iced coffee in hand, and I've already swallowed it, thrown it away. So the listeners and the viewers are gonna, you're missing out on my big Trenta cup of coffee that I'm hyped up on. But so thank you for having me. But I'm Austin Wiggins, and I'm the owner of Hindlight Media, and we are a multimedia company, primarily video. We do audio production and some other things, but primarily a video production company based out of Rome, Georgia. And I've been doing this professionally since 2011. I've been full-time with my business since 2020. So about to start our 5th year.
Tell me a story. How did you get into the video world? How did you get into the entrepreneur shoes?
So it's crazy. So it all started, I've been doing the same thing since I was 14 years old. It started as I was because back when I was 14, I guess it was like 2007 or so, YouTube had only been around a couple years. And, at this time, video projects were starting to be barely, we're just kind of cutting edge for school projects. It's like people kind of started to have video cameras at home, digital cameras and that kind of thing. So we had an assignment when I was 14. You could either write a book report or you could get together with friends and make a video, right? And of course, 4, 5, 6, middle school boys, when it comes to given those two options, nobody's going to pick a book report. So we did. We picked a video and we reenacted a scene from the book we were reading in class. In this video, we finished it and it was atrocious. It was the most horrible thing you've ever seen. We had Star Wars music in it. It had me beating one of my best friends dressed as a woman. I was dressed as I played two characters. One of the characters I was dressed as a woman. The other one I was like a burly person, and I took my sandal off and beat one of my friends with a shoe. So that was it. It was terrible. But overnight, I fell in love with video because I knew I loved technology. I knew I loved storytelling. I loved being creative, and I found that, and also like to entertain people. I like to make people laugh, I like to cause an effect on someone. And overnight, I just realized that I just loved it. And I couldn't stop doing it. 80% of my consciousness since that point has been the craft of video, multimedia, just creating art that causes people to move,
Sure.
So
Tell me, when did you get into, when did you make your first dollar?
So I did video all through high school. We had I was in a class with a gentleman named Zach Battles, and he's one of my best friends now. He's actually going to be at my wedding. He's actually, I've got like 7 best men. It's kind of weird. I've got 7 best men, a groomsman, a groomsmaid, and 2 bestest menches if you're an Office fan. I don't do anything normal. So, but we're already married. I say this on my podcast. We're already married. We got married a year ago, but we're doing our big ceremony this year. So
that's becoming a more popular thing.
Yeah, and just everything. You got to book things out so far in advance now, and it's like, why wait to move forward with your life just because of a photographer schedule and a venue schedule and all that? So I think it's a good idea. So Zach Battles, he was my teacher in high school. He was over the website, graphic design, that kind of thing. And we produced, in 2 years, my junior and senior year, we probably made 400 videos. We just started doing, things for the website, and I was in his class. I finished most of my primary classes. So all I really had was
Right.
electives towards the end of my senior year anyway. So we just made videos and made videos and made videos on the school website. Got pretty popular. I mean, I had people from different counties emailing us. We had like a variety.
Where'd you go to school?
Pepperell.
Oh, cool. I
So,
didn't know that. So that's good.
Yeah, so I went to Pepperell, and then we had a variety show called The Biscuit. We had several skits. The tagline was a variety show based on pure randomness, and we just did anything. Like, I mean, there was one skit where I wore a green screen cape and I pretended to be the headless horseman's head. You know, so I was like, and we just did all sorts of crazy stuff. Made music videos, and because of that, you know, my name got fairly spread around the community as sort of the video guy. They knew me as the Harry Potter guy and the video guy.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the kind of what people knew me. And I think
Big Harry Potter fan?
Oh, big Harry Potter.
Me too, man.
I've done just about everything you can do Harry Potter fandom. I've been to London. I've been to the studio tour. I've been to King's Cross Station. I've been to the theme parks. I've seen Cursed Child play in London and New York. I've seen it 3 times now, twice in New York and once in London. So, other than going to the theme parks and like the other theme parks, like in Japan, and I think there's one in California.
There is.
Other than those things, I've done pretty much everything you can do on the Harry Potter bucket list.
Yeah, Harry Potter's dope.
Love it.
My son's name's Harry.
Did you name your son after Harry Potter?
No.
Okay.
So, 2 ways.
Well, unofficially you did, right?
Well, yeah, I did intentionally.
Okay.
So his name is Harrison. Right? Have you ever
okay.
watched Dexter?
No, but I've heard of it.
So Dexter's son's name is Harrison, right?
Oh, okay.
And so that show's incredible, right?
He's an
'Cause
assassin?
He's a serial killer.
Serial killer, okay.
But he only kills like other serial killers, right?
Okay, so he's like the Robin Hood of serial killers.
Yeah, his dad was a cop, and he knew that he was like showing serial killer tendencies early on, and so he was like, "Well, if you're gonna do it, and there's no stopping you from it, the only way I can do is teach you not how to get caught and teach you how to only do it for ways that make sense in society, right?" But he has a son later in that show named Harrison, and it like completely renegotiates for him what is important to him in life, right? And that effect that he has on him was like kind of the same for me because I was 20, you know what I mean? And I was like, this experience has changed my whole paradigm of what is going on around me and what is important to me, you know what I mean? So I named him after him. But we've called him Harry since day one because his mother and myself are both huge Harry Potter fans. For Christmas, he got Disney World pass, like the all-time pass, so he can go all the time. I think he's went like 7 or 8 times this year, you know.
Man.
So they go a lot. They spend a lot of time. Harry Potter is one of the things for me. I remember reading Harry Potter and waiting for the next book to come out.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
I have the memories of the midnight release parties. I've actually been listening to so it's funny we talk about podcasting. So Harry Potter is actually what got me interested in podcasting. Because I know you know this, but for the listener, I started my podcast about a little over a year ago. We just started season 2, year 2, and I got into podcasts when I was like in middle school. I've been listening to the same Harry Potter podcast. It's still going. It's been going for 19 years.
Wow.
I've been listening to the same Harry Potter podcast since 2006. It started in 2005. I came in at like episode 44. They're on episode like almost 700 now.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's been crazy. But that's actually what sparked my love of podcasting.
Yeah.
You know, Harry Potter. You know,
podcasting is a unique thing in itself. You know what I mean? It's I feel like. Especially with what we do here, you know what I mean? Because we started another podcast. We have another podcast called Soup Sandwich, right? And it's the furthest thing from a podcast. It's literally our variety hour to talk about what we want, to experience what we want, to go do what we want, film it, share it with people. You know what I mean? It's a cool thing. But this, to me, is a true podcast. It's like you pick something very specific. You dive into that information as deep as you can dive into it with as many people as you can dive into that information with, and you put it out there for the world to see. Podcasting is a very unique thing, and it's very different from video because video is very intentional, you know, and you're constantly thinking about engagement rate. How do I keep people engaged? How is every second of this video very, very intentional? And I feel like we can sit here on this podcast and just talk about what interests us. You know what I mean? It's almost like a breath of fresh air when you're in the media world to get into podcasting, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I drive about 100 miles a day on average, or at least 500 miles a week. And sometimes it's, you know, more weighted towards the end of the week. But, you know, I do a lot of learning and a lot of entertainment. I need that. So podcasting has always been a part of that for me because you can listen to it you can put it in your, earbud, you can put your AirPod in. You can listen to your podcast while you're setting up for a shoot or, driving or, sometimes I'll listen to podcasts to kind of help me go to sleep at night, so I don't have to have the TV on. It's like there's so many use cases about it, how it just so naturally just goes with it doesn't disrupt anything you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're watching TV, you kind of have to be
have to
in
pay
the room,
attention,
or you
you
got
know
to
what I
be,
mean?
if you're cooking, if you're watching a show on your phone while you're cooking dinner, you kind of, you have to kind of look at
The
it occasionally.
podcast is just like anything you happen to catch is extra. And
Yes,
it's
the
awesome,
podcast is just there. It doesn't disrupt anything. It just goes with the flow. They're typically long form, which I like. You can spread it out over the course of a few days or a week. So I love podcasting, listening and creating podcasts.
I do too. Tell me, with your business, like, what were some of the growing steps early? How did you kind of get into it? Because I know that it's a very different thing, right? And I relate to the way that you got into this industry, because I got into videography and podcasting, and Jay as well, purely out of personal desire and interest, and it's just very, very specific to me, right? It was something I was interested in. It was something I wanted to do. It was something I thought was really, really cool. And I was like, I can probably get pretty good at this. You know what I mean? Like, so I had no expectation to be a production company or to make videos for other people or to make them. I had zero I had no interest in that, really. And then the more I got into the technology of production, the more I got to figuring out how this room works and how we can maximize what we're doing in this room. All that, like, it created more opportunity for me to just get better and better and better and better at those things before those people were asking me, help me out with this, help me out with this. You know what I mean? Like, as simple as plug my PA system up, and as complicated as, like, we need to manage, we need you to manage our social media for a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and all of those asks, sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no, because this is still one of those things that I refuse to fall out of love with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still won't take a job that makes me love production any less. You know what I mean? So tell me what it was like for you, kind of merging that love with the business side of things, and what you had to learn to kind of make the growth happen.
So, well, and also to answer your other question too, you said, when did I make my first dollar? So I started and that leads into that too. But we kind of got off on a Harry Potter tangent, and believe me, I could talk for 10 hours about that. But so I think the first time I got paid to do video, I was a senior in high school. There was somebody, I think one of the teachers or the school even wanted us to make a slideshow for like the Mr. Pepperell or Miss Pepperell or something like that. Or it might have been like the seniors baby photos slideshow, something like that. So that was the first. That's like one of the first jobs I remember having. And then I was like, man, at that time, I was like, man, I could actually make a living doing this. And when I was doing it in high school, it was a hobby. It wasn't something that I really ever thought that I would actually do as a job. I mean, I was like, I think it might have been middle of my senior year or maybe early on in my senior year. It clicked in my mind that I was like, I should pursue this as a career. So I started doing some research, and we had somebody from the Art Institute of Atlanta come to the school and did like a recruitment or like a demo or something like that. And I was like, man, okay. So then I really liked what I saw, and I started doing some research. I started doing some networking, and there's a film festival in Rome called the Rome International Film Festival. Most people are familiar with that. So I got involved with that in high school, started networking. So I knew there was a path to do it, and so I went, and I also went to the Art Institute. That's where I wound up going and got a degree in video production. Pretty much early on, I knew that there's sort of, at least in my mind, there were three paths. You have the corporate world to do video. Then you have sort of the film and television world, and then you have doing your own thing, sort of that entrepreneurialism. Start your own business, do your own thing is what I call it. And I tried all three, and the corporate world, I did that I was in about 5 years, and I really learned a lot of stuff there. I mean, I feel like I have a master's degree in marketing because I was in corporate marketing and multimedia. I traveled to different...
Because that's really what that is.
Yes, and I tell people, like, I'm not really a videographer. I'm a marketing consultant that uses video as a tool, my tool of choice.
As best as you can ever be at video, as fast as you could ever be at editing, if it doesn't match the intention of the corporation, or it doesn't inspire that feeling for their customers, or whatever the intention may be of that piece of content, it's useless. So you learn that really quick, is like, it has to be functional. You know what I mean? I feel like that's one of the hardest things really to kind of get a grasp, and it's probably like a constant learning.
Oh, yes, it's constant learning. I mean, it's constant adaptation. The technology's changing. The trends are constantly changing, and all your customers' clients and all of your customers trends, and I mean, it's like you have to and especially in video, to move out of, to turn video from a hobby to a career, you have to constantly be adapting, learning, educating, focus. You have to be living 20 years in the future to be successful today.
No doubt.
You got to really be living in that 20-year plus space. But I tried film and TV. I didn't like the hours. I actually interviewed at Turner Broadcasting 2 or 3 times. I actually almost got the job. I shadowed there a few times, and I realized I didn't like there were some cultural things I didn't love about the television world, and then the film world. It's like you got to be married to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the hours are like 16-hour days, 12, 14, 16-hour days, 6 days a week.
Find yourself driving places at 4 in the morning. And
yes, and some people love that.
Waiting on a lot of people.
Yes.
I think that was the hardest part for me, was waiting.
There's a lot of somebody, I forgot who it was.
They pull up fashionably late when they've been in that industry for 20 years, but you're there at 4 a.m. gaffing and doing everything you can do to set up shoot. It's a lot of work.
There was somebody, I forgot who it was, that made a quote. I can't remember who it was. It was an actor who said, I don't get paid to act, because he loves acting. He said, I don't get paid to act, I get paid to wait.
Yeah.
Because there's so much waiting on a film set. And I was actually on the Tyler Perry's House of Pain as an extra. And I was probably 8 hours, 9 hours of sitting in a room waiting, and then maybe 20 minutes actually on set.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, and but then I always had, since high school, again, I started doing the, getting paid to do little projects and little freelance projects, and I continued doing that through college, and then really all through even those 5 years in corporate, because I took the corporate route because I wanted steady paycheck. I liked having the benefits. It felt secure, and I knew I really wanted to learn a lot about. I didn't know it at the time, but about a year in, I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff here that I need to learn from a marketing standpoint, which I did, and then I use that today, every single day with my business, and then. But I always had the side business, and I was like, man, I really love this. We started doing weddings, we did commercials, we did music videos. I'm in a different place every day. So I was like, man, this is really my dream job. And so I worked my way to, my dream was to have my business full time, and I did that. And in 2020, and actually with COVID. COVID actually, because the video world boomed with COVID.
God,
Everybody, the whole world now speaks video.
Yeah.
We jumped ahead, I'd say 5 to 10 years in culture when it comes to how many people are actively using video in their personal and business life.
Because it felt like you needed to be making a Super Bowl commercial if you were using video back in the day. It felt like a tool that small businesses didn't use, and it was unattainable. It was super expensive, and not a lot of people were in that craft. And then COVID happened, and you see every solopreneur working hard on social media. You see them everybody was just so inclined to throw their phone up and let it record and figure it out later at that time, that I think that the amount of data that we got was just insane. You know what I mean? The amount of interactions that you got looking at social media and what was happening. And I think that was probably, in my mind, was like the most viral time in the world. Like, anything that really went super viral during COVID, there were so many people invested in what was happening, and their only link to their information in the world was their phone. Like, you had more eyes than ever on the internet, as weird as that is to say, during the COVID era. And I feel like it sped things up exactly like you said, 5-10 years. People realized that it was an attainable product for small businesses. You could reach a very specific set of people if you were very intentional about what you were creating. It was a very unique thing. It was different.
Yeah. So, but I think what was your question again? I'm trying to remember. Like, I think I hit on it, but it was
just like as you got started in your business, like, what was the things that you were doing that were helping you grow? It's like once you decided to do the your own thing route.
Yes.
What is step one?
So for me, honestly, and it started in high school. It started with networking, and that is what, for me, I did it kind of unintentionally. I mean, I just knew I wanted to meet people and learn, but I didn't realize until probably 2018, 2019, the power of networking and actually building wholesome relationships with people, not just surface level relationships, but getting to know people, and who they are and why they are, and, what gets them out of the bed in the morning, and, and trying to figure out how to be an asset for other people, and, teaming up with your community, and determining how you can help each other. So for me, that has been number one, and it will always be number one. Is just forming relationships and trying to figure out ways to work with people that either are in your industry or not in your industry. And that's honestly how we met, through BNI. And I've talked about BNI several times on my podcast, but it's, for me, that has always been number one. And especially when I went full time, I learned about BNI, Business Networking International, about a year before I went full time. And I was like, man, when I saw it, understood it, and kind of read into it, I saw this is the path to success, And so that's number one for me, is forming relationships, getting out of your comfort zone, talking, getting your Rolodex as full as possible, but not just surface level.
Yeah.
But having dozens and dozens and dozens of people that you can call up and have a conversation with and genuinely be invested in,
Yeah.
So for me, that's number one.
Yeah, I think it should be number one for everyone, because that's kind of similar to my experience. Is I started out pure low-hanging fruit world in the credit card processing industry. Everybody has a couple of friends that'll hook you up. Everybody has some family members. They hear you're doing your own thing, they'll try to throw you a bone here and there. But you run out of that low-hanging fruit in the first few months, right?
Yeah.
And then it's and for me, it was I had a crazy injury to my leg when I was in college. I came home and I started working here maybe six months after that, something like that. So I hobbled around downtown Rome, you know what I mean, and knocked on doors and got asked questions I didn't know the answer to in the credit card processing world, and exhausted that low-hanging fruit, door knocked all around me. And I think that Jay just seen the defeated look on my face of God, I'm tired of hobbling around cold calling 8 hours a day and knocking on 100 doors, and he was like, all right, a little bit about your industry, I'm going to teach you how to network. And my industry is a little different. There is a bunch of very specific industry knowledge that you need to know about my industry to do your job well. If the big guys in my industry were really good at customer service and outlining exactly what that experience was like, it would be hard for us to be in business, but they suck at it, so you have to learn a lot. But it's 6-8 months in, Jay was like, I'm going to teach you how to network. I'm going to show you what BNI is. I'm going to send you to a chamber of commerce. I'm going to send you to a business association. You're going to build this network of people, and they're going to become dedicated to you and you to them, to helping each other grow their business. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. That was literally my first intro into networking. And in my mind, I was trade cold calling for networking. So I drank out of the fire hose when it came to networking. Early on, meeting people, every networking group I could go to. I was pretty much the only rep here at that time. There was I would come to work and there would be me and Jay and Chris. You know what I mean? There's 3 people in my office.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing deals, you only had one other person to go. They saw you all the time. They only had one person to oversee, and so it was it's very clear if you're working toward, the goals or not. And so I started networking so hard. And then every person that I would meet that was new to their industry, I would tell them, dude, network. Low-hanging fruit and network's going to get you a long way for your 6 months. But 6 months in, if you invested in those relationships, it'll change the way that you go about trying to grow your business. That mentality of how hard you have to work to accumulate business will go away almost immediately when you realize how many people are out there that are willing to help you grow your business if you listen and give the same time and effort to them. It's a real game changer in the small business world. For all the people out there that are listening, that are if I decided to go into my own business today, or I took $10,000 out of the bank and I said, I'm going to go hard at my own business until this $10,000 run out, the number one investment that you can make is in relationships with people. And you can do that very, very, very inexpensively. It costs you some time, but it has just continued. Every single rep we have is in BNI. You know what I mean? Every person that's really been successful from a sales perspective in here has really went into BNI, Chamber of Commerce, Business Associations, and they've worked hard, to bring value to those other people as well. So if there's anything and I know I've said it 100 times on the podcast, but if this is the first one you're listening to, I stand by the idea of networking. It's super valuable. It'll teach you so much. You'll have so many interactions and just rolls of the dice as far as what benefits your business and what doesn't. It's a real game changer. So, you've decided to do your own thing. You were very natural when it came to the idea that networking is going to be valuable for me, because your industry is a lot like mine, where there is a lot to know, and there is a lot to know about your customer. What are they buying? What's important to them? How do I create a good customer experience? Obstacles. Talk to me about things that came up along the way that you weren't necessarily prepared for that you had to overcome.
So for me, the biggest obstacle, and it's still, I mean, it's not as much as it used to be, and a lot of that's because of COVID and the fact that the demand for video has gotten so much greater. But the thing that I always struggled with early on was was a pricing, and because there was a time when like somebody would ask you to come do something that was going to take for 100 hours, and they don't realize that, but it's going to take 100 hours of work, and you say something's going to cost $1,500, and they yell at you because people don't see they don't know. Now it's different because people have actually tried to do it on their own to try to save money because they know the power of video.
Yeah.
And more people now are like, man, this is not easy.
Yeah.
So that's not something I deal with much anymore. And I've adapted and developed services and sort of products and services that are heavily designed to be affordable.
Yeah.
And that's what it separates us from.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
if they're like from outside looking in, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in the production world, you know what I mean? Not really in the same type of production as you guys, but what is the thing called that you send all the pictures? We make it's like swoop service.
Swoop service,
Is
yes.
that what it's called?
Swoop service, yes.
So stuff like that, I think is so freaking unique as far as what there is, because everybody thinks like high ticket. How can I land a 5-figure job? Blah blah blah. Do you know how many needs there are out there in the world for people that are easy, you can be affordable, you can create a relationship with someone? Because we've experienced a lot of the same things. It's like I have to explain to someone, I have to travel to you. I might have to travel to you a couple of times. We're doing your work outside of regular business hours, so I'm paying someone to be there. We're editing it for X hours after the fact. Like, this thing that you think takes a couple of hours in your mind may take me 10 or 15 or 20, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we haven't really adapted to, but I've always thought it was so unique the way that you guys find kind of these ways to plant seeds for people.
Yep.
And create a real unique experience for people without the need to fork over 5 figures worth of money straight out of your bank account. So talk a little bit about those too, because I truthfully think that that's one of the most unique things that I've ever seen in the videography space in general. People just don't think like that.
Well, thank you. And I'm trying to bottle this up in a concise manner because this is something that I've been passionate about since day one. Is I know a lot of people, I love video and always have. I've just loved video, and I have always hated that people have had to turn away or couldn't do it because they couldn't afford it. So I'm like, there's got to be a way to make this affordable, and so I had a goal to create a service that would work, that literally anybody on any budget could use, and we just did a swoop yesterday and swoop service in a nutshell is you go to our website, there's a link, you can send us a direct, basically from your phone, you can send us video clips and photos that you've taken and then send it to us, and we have it, we professionally we edit it, produce it, put it together in a professional format that's fun, shareable. We've done a family vacation. They went to Disney World. They took their GoPros. Dads go on vacation with their drones, their GoPros, their cell phones. They got all these, 4K cameras, and they take all this video content, but what do you do with it? It just sits there. So we're like, well, to me, I saw that as, a lot of videographers saw that as a threat because, now they just say, well, why am I paying you so much money because I got a 4K camera in my pocket? I saw it as a gold mine.
Right.
Because, like, you've got everybody is equipped with a camera that's just literally like liquid gold just sitting on their phones. I'm like, send that to me. I'll do something with it. And, so we've done a family vacation. We've done slideshows for like a baseball team. We've done a couple different, several slideshows or end of season recap videos for like little league teams and like championship, like high school. We did one for like a high school football player. I just did one literally. It cost $8. Somebody sent me a little over a minute of footage from their phone of them walking in the park, and I just basically put it together, put some music on it, put some really fun like graphics. It took me about it might have taken me 8 minutes to do it, and wound up charging them the way the pricing structure works, it was like $8.
Mm-hmm.
Took about 8 minutes to do it, and sent it back to them, and they're posting a reel it just looks.
Yeah.
It looks professionally done. It's amateurly shot, but it looks professionally treated. And that wound up actually originally developed. I created it originally for the non-commercial space for like people like on the family vacations, and teachers use it. Actually, we just got a job today, and a text message this morning from a teacher looking to do it for her classroom in the end of year slideshow. And it's not very expensive, and it ranges anywhere from, for something like that, typically anywhere from $60 to $120. You split that with some parents, where 2 or 3 teachers, to take all the pictures and videos from an entire school year and put it together in a fun video photo presentation that they can put on their socials. All the teachers have websites now; they post stuff on there. But it actually wound up being adopted pretty quickly by the commercial space. So we had to redevelop our pricing structure to incorporate branding, bringing in onboarding a client, because we have to bring in their branding information. We have to like create templates for them and things like that. We've done a lot of swoop projects for a politician. He just won. We did a video campaign for him, and he also uses our swoop service. So he just goes out with his phone, just records videos of him saying something to the community, sends it over to us. We put his branding on it. We put music on it, a little graphic animation in there.
And it looks like he's got a film crew following him 24/7.
It looks like he has a professional.
MTV is over the shoulder shooting everything.
Yes, we do awesome YouTube content. There's a gentleman in Rome who's a pepper farmer. We do his YouTube videos for him, and these videos, once we get the onboarding process complete, anywhere from $15 to $40 per video. And they'll send us 10, 20 videos at once.
Yeah,
we just sit there and bang it out, and
like, hey, here's 3 months worth of content for $600,
and we actually train people. We'll do up to an hour, sometimes 2, of free training, virtual or in person, of like how you can, here's some things you can purchase on Amazon for maybe less than $100, tripod, a somewhat nice microphone, and actually teach people how to self-shoot, and then go out and do it, send it to us, and we can, within usually same day, but typically within 2 business days, we get everything sent back to them, and they're able to post it.
Sure.
So yeah, it's been a phenomenal I'm proud of it, because it's something, again, I wanted to create something that literally anybody could afford. But it also gets our name out there too, because they share it, they tag us, so it's a great brand exposure tool for us as well.
Yeah, no, it's really, really cool. I think it's so unique. It's like, I tell people all the time, you've got $1,000 camera in your pocket. You've got a really nice camera in your pocket. Pretty much everyone does. And to find a way to tap into that, because what does it do? It sits there. It just sits. You're not sure what to do with it. You're like, oh, this is almost cool enough to post, or it just doesn't feel complete, right? And I think that it literally is that. It's a gold mine of interaction that you can create with people that nobody ever thinks about. So, like, I guess the teachable moment for that, for people that are paying attention right now on the podcast, if you've made it this far, is there are out-of-the-box ways to grow your business where you're not having to compete with the Tyler Perry Studios of the world. What I mean? You don't have to be that 5-6 figure video production company to find ways to keep yourself busy and paid. Honestly, there's an extraordinary value to regular people.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of service providers out there that are in the video multimedia world servicing those small projects.
And honestly, it goes to your organization as well. Like, it's not easy to do if you're unorganized. If you have 100 irons in the fire, and you're doing this, you're shooting this, you're doing this, you're trying to figure it out, you're one of those people that is always like overwhelmed with the amount of stuff it may not be the thing for you.
Oh yeah,
okay,
like, but people see my calendar and they like freak out. Like, I've got lists, I've got task lists, multiple calendars, color coordinated. I'm telling people, I'm pretty much always actively managing about 50 projects simultaneously.
It's not easy to do.
Yeah, and like right now, I've got like 5.
It's kind of a little kudos to your corporate background, I think.
Well, I mean, and I've always been organized. Ever since I'm OCD. I have been overly organized since I was a young boy. So that's something that's come naturally to me. I've been using a calendar since I was 17, but yeah, I mean, right now I've got 5 weddings on my hard drive that I'm working on. I don't even know how many clients I have anymore. I've lost track.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like I'm on.
It's a good day when there's no sense in counting the clients anymore, though.
Yeah,
Huh?
you
Just
know,
like, hey,
I'm on like I'm
how
involved.
many clients you got? Bunch.
Yeah,
Lot.
and then like with B&I, we've started a chapter in Rome. I'm now the vice president of that
I'll be
chapter.
there next week, by the way.
You'll be there next week. Oh, fantastic! Yeah, and
I was supposed to be there this week. I went close to deal.
on the board of the Rome Area Council for the Arts, and it's like I'm doing all sorts of stuff. I've got clients in. At one point, I had clients in 6 different states. Some of those have now. I just have clients in 3 states.
That's where it's so important to teach people how to shoot themselves. You know?
Oh yes, and a lot. Yes, and I've flown to. You know, I did a real estate job in Austin, Texas, and I do work with a lady in Atlanta. Her video company is called Aramba, and I'm her primary cinematographer. And you know, we did a job in Boston. You know, about 6 months ago, we flew out to Boston for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know,
that's awesome.
So it's just
we
it's
had
crazy.
somebody ask us for, will you guys come to Indiana and shoot some commercial stuff? And I was like, yes, we will. Do you have an iPhone? Like, do you have an iPhone? Go shoot it yourself. You know what I mean? Like, save yourself $10,000. You know what I mean? No, that's like the most exciting thing that you can tell people is like when you have people's best interest at heart, you know what you're good at, you know the value that you bring people. It kind of sorts itself out. You know what I mean? You can be good at business without feeling like you're ready. There's never going to be a moment where you're like, okay, now we press the gas and we go 200 miles an hour from zero. It just doesn't start like that. You know what I mean? Like it's like an avalanche. You know what I mean? It's like one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're moving like you're moving. You know what I mean? There's tons of work.
It's been crazy. Yeah, I mean, we can't keep up with it. I mean, I feel like all my plates are spinning well, but and I love it. I mean, I love that. And some people like the consistency of showing up at the same place every day, having a consistent paycheck.
Sure.
I just didn't like that. I felt like a prisoner. Yeah. I like to never know where I'm going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, well, more or less. I mean,
Scott, you're not a prisoner, all right? We love you. How's Becca and Austin number 2? How are those guys?
They're great. They're great.
Hadn't seen them in a while.
Becca's, you know, she's been doing video stuff on her side, on her end. She still works for me. I still contract her out to do tons of stuff. They help me with all my weddings. Becca's,
Dude, she is awesome, man. I saw firsthand just the growth and exposure and the excitement that she got from being out. She's awesome.
Yeah, I love Becca and her husband Austin. The other Austin, we call each other by our last names, Terry and Wiggins. But you know, they're still my primary go-tos, and all my weddings we do. One of them almost entirely is one of them helping me.
Yeah,
because they don't. Because I mean, when you shoot a wedding, I'm the only shooter, but I have to have help with lighting and getting things set up.
So you can be doing the shooting.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I can't be setting up for the you thing. I have to be shooting pretty much actively the whole time. So and occasionally I'll have Becca do some second shooting on larger projects, and then do just general assist work on other projects and stuff. But they're doing great. Yeah, they're doing very well.
No, it's awesome. Well, how do people find you? If they have a burning hole in their pocket full of money to give you for something video related, how do they buy something from you?
So you can find us, and we just recently redid our website from the ground up, and it's the first time I actually loved my website. I've never hated it, but I've never loved it. Now I really do love our website. If you can find us, hindlightmedia.com. So it's just like hindsight, but with an L. Hindlightmedia.com. You can also find my personal portfolio on austinwiggins.com. And most of that content is on the Hindlight Media webpage anyhow, but we have our podcast that is documentary style. What we do that's interesting is we use AI technology to create a studio-like experience in the real world. So we've recorded episodes, like we recorded one episode on a speedboat. We'll record episodes. I've recorded an episode in a cop car where I literally did a ride along with a cop, and we did episode in that. So Off the Cuff is the name of the podcast. You can find offthecuff.hindlightmedia.com, and our social media, Instagram, Hindlight Media, Facebook, Hindlight Media. We would just love to connect with people because we just love what we do. We love it, and we go the extra mile. The logo, the H in our logo has like a little extension in it, and that's symbolic for going the extra mile. We always like to give people more than they feel like they're paying for.
For sure. And you guys do it well, man. I've known you guys for a while now, year and a half, maybe, long time, and it's been cool watching you guys grow, watching you find these other areas that you're getting business from, watching you find different things that you can do well for people that, like you said, make people feel like they're just getting $1 million worth of value, and it's really cool. I wish you guys a lot of success. I hope you keep moving forward. If there's anything that we can do for you, always, I'm going to continue to connect you with people and find opportunities for you guys as well, because we're super picky, unfortunately. Like I said, I love production. So when I find a project that I love to do, I'll sometimes stick my head out there, but we don't do a whole lot of production. You know what I mean? We do a whole lot of credit card processing. We do a whole lot of this, so,
Yeah.
and we enjoy it. So, thanks for coming. If you have anything to leave them with, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in closing, I just wanted to say this is one thing. I literally was at a B&I group in Ackworth yesterday, and this is something that I even said. I was talking to one of the guys. It's like, when you're thinking about starting a business or doing your own thing, you're going to have to be extraordinary with organization, communication, and high pressure, because you have to be comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen, in a week, in a month, in a year. So be comfortable with that. Just get comfortable with it. And if you can't get comfortable with that, you're going to have a really hard time. And then the other thing I say is, you have to kind of live in two worlds. You have to meet people where they are. So like kind of our swoop services is an example, that creating content where we're literally taking content that people are already actively shooting and then just turning it into something that they, can share. But you also have to be living in that future. You have to be meeting people where they are, but also showing people what they don't even know they want.
Right.
So you have to be living in that futuristic mentality. So it's like you're constantly living in tomorrow and then also today. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to have a hard time. You have a very hard time.
Yeah, the way I say that a lot of that the same thing to somebody is just knowing the value of what it is that you do for people, and knowing the value that you provide for people. That makes people so excited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you don't articulate what you do in a manner of, this is the amount of work that I have to complete, but instead you communicate that to people as, here's the value. Here are the boxes that you get to check off of your list, and you never have to think about them again. It will redefine the way that you feel about your own business. I truly believe that. And you guys have done an incredible job of that. You guys do great. You leave a lot of awesome impressions on people, and I look forward to seeing more of your work. I think it's awesome. I've said it a bunch. My beginning of my production career has always begun with the end in mind. I would really love to shoot a film, a feature film or short film, something like that. Show it to some of the people at Riff and Rome. That's really what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've met a lot of people in the production world. I've met a lot of really, really good actors. You know what I mean? And so this thing will come full circle for us, and I know that you guys will have a lot of value to play into that equation one day. So.
Yeah, keep us in mind, man. I love Riff. I mean, I attend every year. I've had a couple documentaries show there. I'm more into docs than I am like narratives and feature like fiction. I'm much more into nonfiction, but I love it.
I am too, though.
Yeah, and there is nothing like seeing something that you worked a year and a half on in a theater with 300 people.
Yeah, 100%.
That is, I don't get to do that very often, but man, that is a drug.
Yeah, it is.
That is a drug, right?
And that's literally what got me on it. Is like, I've been a couple times. We watched some of the Sundance Live last year. They've got to streaming some of the Sundance stuff, and I was like, dude, it's just really cool, man. It's just really cool. This world that we live in is really cool, and maybe we'll do this again. We'll do it again in a year and laugh about how far we've come.
Hey, have me back, man. I could sit here and talk, and I could literally sit here for 5 hours and probably talk and not skip a beat, but obviously we can't do that. But, man, thank you so much for having me. You've made me feel super welcome, and I just love it. So thank you so much.
Awesome,
and I always love continuing our conversation. So thank you, my friend.
Cool. Burn the ship.
There you go.